Bear's kind, too-wide features looked hopelessly weary. Tim flashed on him setting Ginny up on his shoulders at Disneyland last June. Bear was orphaned young, never married. The Rackleys were his surrogate family. Tim had investigated warrants with Bear for 3 years on the escape team out of the district office downtown, ever since Tim's 11-year stint in the Army Rangers. They also served together on the arrest response team, the Marshal's SWAT-like tactical strike force. Though still 15 years from the mandatory retirement age of 57, Bear had completed night law school, and, after failing the bar twice, had finally wrung a pass out of it last July. He was 9 years older than Tim. "Tire tracks," Tim said. "If the guy's that disorganized, something will break." Yeah, it will." He pulled into a parking lot, easing past the sign reading Ventura County Morgue. He parked and reached across to the glove box and tugged out a pint of wild turkey. He took 2 gulps, then offered it to Tim. Tim took a mouthful. Now, just now, grief was beginning to set in. "You ready?" Bear asked. "No." Tim got out and Bear followed. The fluorescent lighting was otherworldly harsh, shining off the polished floor tile and the stainless steel cadaver drawers set into the walls. A broken lump lay inert beneath a hospital blue sheet on the center embalming table. The coroner, a short man with a horseshoe of hair, fussed nervously with the mask that dangled around his neck. Timothy Rackley, father of Virginia Rackley?" "That's right. I'd like to be alone with the body." "Well, there's still, forensic considerations, so I can't really—" Tim flipped open his wallet and let his 5-point Marshal star dangle. The coroner nodded and left. Bear exited, easing the door closed discreetly. Tim flipped back the sheet. His breath left him in a gut-punch gasp, but he didn't turn away. Anguish raged inside him, bent on destruction. He watched her bloodless, broken face until it died down. With a trembling hand, he removed a pen from his pocket and used it to pull a wisp of Ginny's hair, the same straight blonde as Dre's, from the corner of her mouth. This one thing he wanted to set straight, despite all the damage and violation stamped on her face. Even if he'd wanted to, he wouldn't have touched her. She was evidence now. He found a single ray of thankfulness that Dre wouldn't have to carry the memory of this side with her. He pulled the sheet tenderly back over Ginny's face and walked out. Bear sprang up from the row of waiting chairs and the coroner scurried over. Tim said, "That's her." They headed back to Dre in silence, the bottle sliding empty on the dash. Tim wiped his mouth. She was supposed to be just around the corner at Tess's, 2 blocks away from school, right on Ginny's way home. Dre told her to go there after school so we'd have a chance, to surprise her. Tess goes to private school. We have an arrangement, us and her mom. The kids can stop by for play dates unannounced. There was no one expecting Ginny, no one to miss her. This is Moore Park, Bear. It's Moore Park. You're not supposed to know your kid's not okay when she's 400 yards away. Bear's cell phone rang. He picked it up and spoke into it, flipped the unit shut and pulled to the curb. That was Fowler. They caught him. Tim felt a rush of emotions, dark and hateful and intertwined. Where? Off Grimes Canyon, about a half mile from here. We're going. Ain't gonna be nothing to see but yellow tape in the aftermath. We don't want to contaminate the arrest, fuck up the crime scene. I thought I'd take you to Dre. We're going. I know. They pulled down the long, isolated drive, gravel popping beneath the tires, winding their way into the heart of the small canyon. A converted stand-alone garage to a house that had long since burned down sat dark and slanted along a crescent of eucalyptus. The smudged side windows diffused a single spot of yellow interior light. To the side, a rusting white pickup rose from the weeds, fresh mud caked in the tire treads. A police vehicle sat diagonally across the overgrown concrete foundation of the extinct house, lights blinking. Like the other cars in the fleet, it was labeled Moore Park Police, though all 2-man crews were, like Dre, sheriff's deputies contracted from Ventura County. Parked beside it was an unmarked, lights flashing. Fowler met them at the truck. The detectives were not in sight. No yellow tape, no perimeter, no crime lab guys working up forensics. Before Tim could get out of the truck, Fowler was talking. Gutierrez and Harrison, they rolled from Homicide Bureau. They got a read off the tire tracks at the riverbank. Crime lab found a fingernail at the scene, chip of white paint under it, automobile paint. Gutierrez ran it through for a 10-mile radius, only got 27 hits, if you can believe it. We split up the addresses. This was our third stop. There's hardcore evidence. The guy spilled in seconds. Jesus Christ, Rack, I'm sorry. I should have come over myself, but I wanted to get my head down and help bust the piece of shit. Why isn't there a perimeter up? Tim said. We still haven't been... He's inside. Tim's mouth went dry. His fury narrowed, gathering like a parachute pulled through a napkin ring. What about CSU? Did you even call them? Fowler grew suddenly interested in the ground. We called you. I know if my little girl... He slid his Beretta from the holster and held the pistol out to Tim, but first. For you and Dre. Tim took the pistol. He walked toward the garage, heard sounds issuing through the warped door. He knocked twice. Hang on. The voice belonged to Mac, Fowler's partner and another of Dre's deputy colleagues. The garage doors swung up on screeching springs. Mac moved his large frame out of Tim's way, revealing Gutierrez and Harrison standing on either side of a scrawny man on a torn couch. Tim's eyes swept the interior, taking in a heap of blood-moist rags, a pair of little girls' fingerprint-muddied cotton panties plugging a draft in the far wall, a bent hacksaw with the teeth worn down to nubs. He fought to get his mind around these objects, these inconceivabilities. He stepped forward. The man was clean-shaven. His boots, like Bear's, were caked with mud. Mac's deep voice issued over Tim's shoulder. Meet Roger Kindell. You see him, you puke? Gutierrez said. This is that little girl's father. The man's eyes, focused on Tim, showed neither comprehension nor remorse. Tim stepped forward again, until a shadow fell across Kindell's face. Kindell bent his face into the bowl of his hands. I already told you I did it! Leave me alone! Gutierrez turned to Tim. I got a throwdown. Tim glanced at the proffered bulge at the detective's ankle, a crappy gun to be left on the scene clutched in Kindell's dead hand. Tim turned back to Kindell. Leave me. Gutierrez slipped him the handcuff key. Just don't leave any of the wrong kind of marks on him. Max squeezed Tim's shoulder, then followed the two detectives out. Tim grabbed the dangling rope handle on the garage door and tugged. The door slammed shut. Kindell didn't so much as blink, cool as a blade. He took note of the Beretta in Tim's hand and turned his head to the wall. Did you kill my daughter? Kindell turned back to face him. His even features were set off by an unusually flat and elongated forehead. He didn't look as though he planned to answer the question. Did you kill my daughter? Tim asked again. Kindell nodded slowly. Why? 'Cause she was so beautiful! Tim racked the Beretta slide, chambering around. Kindell emitted a muffled sob. Tim raised the pistol. Kindell blinked hard. I wasn't supposed to kill her! Tim's body snapped upright. Was someone in on this with you? He didn't... Kindell stopped, closed his eyes. He who? He didn't what? Someone else helped you kill my girl? Answer me, goddammit, answer me! Kindell remained still, impervious to Tim's questions, the smooth ovals of his closed eyelids like veined eggs. The garage door flew up with a bang. Kindell stumbled out, propelled by Tim's shove. Fowler glowered at him like a woman scorned. What the fuck, Rackley? We're doing you a favor here. Gutierrez smoothed his mustache with a thumb and forefinger. How can you not want to cap his ass? I'm not a jury. I bet Dre would have another